Hello everyone, it's August 11, 2023. It's 3:37 in the afternoon. We have less than 30 minutes before the market closes, and SPY right here is still struggling, does not know what it wants to do, whether it wants to close red or green, but we do have 25 more minutes, so we'll see whether SPY will close green versus red today. We are just right there at 0.01% low than yesterday. So very interesting day for today. I traded only two stocks. I traded IONQ and AMD. So for IONQ, the strategy that I did today was really focused on a high time frame. So high time frame would be 15 and 5 minutes, giving a bigger emphasis on the 15 minutes. So IONQ is a 136 million float, so it's not a low float stock. This one had, let's see the catalyst here, IONQ gains on Q2 revenue growth, revenue outlook gains. Let's see, quarterly revenue increased to 5.51 million from 2.6 million in the prior year. So very positive news. And with that positive news, what we saw at the open is just this stock was just so crazy and it just shoot right up. So let me get my pen here. Okay. All right, so I have my levels here. So I have my pre-market low, 14.94, and my pre-market high, 15.48. I wasn't able to consider this wick just because when I was doing the levels, it was probably just before the market opens that it shoot right back at S3, tested that level before shooting up. So technically the level here is at S3, but we do find a support there, and that is this moving average. So what this stock did was it's so strong. Before we do that, let's just dive into what SPY did. So SPY opened weak today, and we're still red for the day. So unlike yesterday where we had a very good move, if you are short, you could have made a decent money trading with this kind of move. Today, look at this small candlestick. So at the open, SPY opened at 444, so just a little lower than the lowest price from yesterday. Was able to touch this level around 443, and then at one point was at this level 446.5, which is this level, and then right now we are shooting up at 445.89. Just 0.06% lower than yesterday's closing price. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna close green today. Looks like, yeah, we're pushing up there. Volume is spiking, so let's see. But for today, let's just do the recap. So I traded IONQ just because it is an earnings play. It has a very positive news, beat the earnings, as well as when I saw here, so this is my pre-market high, pre-market low. Again, I wasn't able to consider this one because I think I was finalizing my levels on the other stocks that I'm watching. And I usually, if I'm going to be watching a stock, I usually adjust this one right before the open. And this probably just shoot back down right before it opened. But we do have level there, that moving average. And look at how this have respected that moving average. And right at the open, 14.92, this stock was just so strong that it went all the way to around 17.6. Now, I did have to do a couple of stabs here before I was able to write it down to the short. So I do have a level here, that R4. I went short right here. Just stop loss is above this week. I thought that this week is just an indicator for us to go down because it had moved significantly a lot already, but I got stop out. So that one was the first loss right there. Then we were creating a new high of the day. Also, what I did was I went short right here, thinking that, oh, this is the new high of the day. We're probably been topping out. So short right here, and then I got stop out again. Now, if you look at this trade right here, I could have had a better trade if I only waited for an A+ setup. A+ setup includes a very clear sign of reversal. Very clear sign of reversal here is we have a topping tail, or we have this doji at the top. And as soon as I saw that one using the 15 minutes, although I was a little bit late because I was watching a different stock, but the best entry there could have been at this level, just below the body of this candlestick. So around 17.4 with a stop loss of the high of the day, which is around 17.65. So that could have been the best and A plus setup there. This is my third stab on this trade when I was able to capture that, but this one was a stop out. So since I'm getting stop out twice, that stopping out, I have a very tight stop loss. So a little red trade there. But when I saw that I do have now this confirmation that indeed this one is reversing, so I shorted it here. Now, unlike before that I used to just partial and move my stop loss, I waited for a confirmation that we're actually heading or we're gonna reverse before I even started partialing. So when we lose this moving average, your VWAP, another moving average, and then this one was too early to partial just because that's just a break-even trade if I partial there. So I waited for the move as soon as we started forming a higher high, just because this one is a change in the channel. That's where I started partialing. So partial. Now this trade right here is a little bit aggressive just because at this level, while I was partialing, I then realized that I am running out of share. So I was running out of shares, so that's why I added to my position, and just to mitigate the risk, I was partialing at break even as well. Just because when I added here, then I realized, hold on, we look overextended. So kind of like lighten my load here, and then partial again, hotkey mistake. I thought I was covering, but I was entering short, but I immediately just closed my position. So with that move, this one could have been a bigger gain if I waited for this A plus setup. So A plus setup, that could have been the risk. And this could have been all the way down here. That could have been the profit. So risking this much to gain this much. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, like around 4 to 1 reward to risk ratio. So that was the best trade that I had today. Next trade that I had was, now if you look at the daily for this one, there's really not a lot of move from the daily. What we just saw was it shoot right up right here at 17.73 until it reversed. So at 1773, then it just got rejected. And right now it's just up by 11.6, which is pretty much still a very high percentage for this stock. And with AMD, I did a couple of stabs, and yeah, just a couple of overtrading with AMD. So I was trading AMD at the pre-market. At the open, I closed my position, shorted it here, short again, and I did try a couple of times for this one to the short. This short right here at least worked in my favor, partial, and then I was adding to my position, was able to cover right here. And then let's see here, trailing my stop and got stop out here, short again, added to my position and just got stop out right here. So not the cleanest trade. The thing that made this trade not the best trade is AMD is just under consolidation. And it's kind of like a forced trade that I wanted AMD to just break this level and just go back down, which it did not happen. So I paid for that. I was able to capture this, but with this couple of stop out, as well as this, it was a loss of 178. So yeah, that's the trade for the day. And let's see here, what is the SPY doing now? SPY, yeah, still trying to close green for the day. So with that, let's see if we can find any other trades here. Rivian was pretty much just flat. Nvidia, the same thing, it's just flat right after that move until 11:30, then it was just flat. Apple, so with this kind of trade, it's what we call a range bound trade, where it just keeps going back and forth. It's not a trend kind of day. That's why with this kind, it's mostly scalp trade, unless just like IONQ that has a very strong catalyst that we were able to capture. AMD was also just a range trade, and that's why I was ready for that trade. Same thing, Microsoft, very choppy. Amazon, choppy as well. Meta, the same thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So how do we get to avoid getting chopped with the market? So for instance, for the Meta, we get to avoid getting chopped here if we use a higher time frame. Let's say if you're using the 15 minutes, you can still have a trade right here, just because if you use a higher time frame, you see that, yeah, this 3 candlestick is heading higher. You got the wick there. You got the first red candlestick at the first or the following candlestick after this red. So the low of the body, you could have entered short there. Stop loss is all the way up here and trailing your stop. And that could have been a good move. And this is the first reversal candlestick. So that could have been still almost a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So the way to avoid getting stop out is use a higher time frame. A higher time frame with either 15. You can also kind of compare it with 30 minutes. That's why I always have this, and I just go back and forth, as well as the 5. You will never get anything from this if you're going to use a 1 minute, 2 minutes, because look at how choppy this is. Once you enter, then you're just going to get chopped and you're going to end up paying commissions. So with that, yeah, ending my day, not a home run, but I'll take what the market gave me, just 1,400 for the day. And it was a little bit of a long day compared to doing an opening range breakout or breakdown, but I've been trying not to do an opening range breakdown or breakout recently, just because of what the SPY looks like. Look at how choppy the SPY looks like. And since we do have just a very tight range there, tight candlestick, yeah, a opening range kind of trade is not the best strategy to do for now. So for that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had an amazing trading day. And don't forget that it's a Friday, so don't overtrade. We still have 9 minutes left in the market. You should not be opening any positions at this moment, just closing. Just because that 9 minutes, it's not going to give you a lot of movements by that time, and you don't want to just pay the commissions. So with that, thank you so much for watching. We'll do this again next time, and just send me an email if you do have questions. Thank you, and have a good one. Bye.